very good morning to you wherever you're watching us from. It is Thursday, the 24th of December, on the eve of Christmas, but Kenyans have little to celebrate as the country contends with the harsh economic times and health workers down their tools over the lack of protective gear, media cover and a risk allowance. As the festivities kick off, we continue to shine a spotlight on the ongoing healthcare crisis as both sides of the divide dig in and take hard stands, leaving thousands of Kenyans without access to much-needed healthcare services. I'm Trix Ingado, and KTN Morning Express begins now. We kick off with Press Review, where we take a look at what's making headlines locally, and joining me is Stephen Mwakesi, who is a public policy analyst. Welcome to the show. He's joining us via Zoom.
Thank you, Trix. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, as we look at the headlines, of course, the medical issue, the strike, the digging in of hills, as I said, is a big story. But of course, there are other elements, particularly when it comes to politics. We have the Nairobi issue, whereby a lot of people are speculating on who shall be the next governor of Nairobi. Now, the Standard this morning is terming it a do-or-die city fight. Now, I'll read an excerpt on the front page and have you tell us what you think about it. The president has made clear his intention to fix the capital as part of his legacy. That is that has been very well publicized, and it is unlikely he will entertain a candidate in the February 18th by-election who will upset his plans. What options do Raila, Ruto, Mudavadi, Wetangula and Kalonzo Musyoka have in deciding who becomes the next city board? And they have been categorized in based on their various political characteristics. Here we have Uhuru and Raila being termed as the handshake. Then we have Ruto, of course, being termed as the hustler, and Musalia, Kalonzo and Wetangula being described on the front page as the NSA, or rather the NASA remnants. What is your make of that and the ongoing politics surrounding Nairobi County?
I think the case of Nairobi County is one that was unprecedented. You can tell from the previous moves to impeach governors. We had governors who had actual deputies in place. In this case, we did not have a deputy in place. Now we're looking at a by-election that came about out of the impeachment. I think it's important to take note that Sonko has gone to court and trying to stop the by-election. His case has been referred to next year, January 4th. I think that will be on Tuesday, or first week of January, to try and stop this particular process. But I think this process, in terms of the way the political alignments have begun, it's a process that has really gone forward. Already the IBC has declared a date for that particular election. Parties are trying to galvanize together. Let's remember this was a Jubilee party seat, and there have been discussions, as has been quoted in the Standard, that there have been engagements between Jubilee and ODM to decide how they'll be able to to create a handshake candidature for this particular by-election. But in my view, I would want to say that this particular seat will elicit a lot of emotions. Already, I find it very suspicious that Kenyans have not reacted at all to the impeachment of Governor Sonko. Sonko has been quite reserved in his sentiments and even his actions post his impeachment. And I think all this might just play out the moment the political race becomes quite evident. The choice of Jubilee candidate for this particular by-election will be a very interesting one to watch. We have people like Peter Kenneth who have shown interest, people like Margaret Wanjiru. We have people like the governor. I mean, there have been very many candidates who have. The BBI Secretariat, Dennis Waweru,
yes,
who have shown it in this particular seat. So I think it will be a very heated one, and there will be a lot of discussions to see whether even Wiper will want to join into this particular thing, because again, remember, the former governor was from Kamba. There's a sizable Kamba population. So I think it's a field day for political parties in terms of seeing who will produce the better candidates for this particular by-election.
Okay. Now, in similar news, or rather still in politics, on the front page of the Daily Nation, we are given an interesting graphics of politicians, and the right at the center is Deputy President William Ruto, and we have Kalonzo Musyoka, Charity Ngilu, Musalia Mudavadi and pharmacist Wetangula right there, and the headline is United Against Ruto. And the question is a third force. A meeting called at Stony Athi in the outskirts of Nairobi yesterday was billed as a pro-BBI event, but it turned out to be an anti-Ruto crusade that the organizers say had the blessings of Uhuru and Raila. When you see these, of course, BBI politics playing out even under all the other bigger stories that are happening, what do you make of it? And do you think, as they're asking on this front page, can this coalition plus KANU, Moi and CCM's Ruto stop the DP in his tracks? He has been very resilient and adamant in his push for whatever political stance he has. So what do you make of his positioning right now based on this story?
I think the Stone Athi meeting yesterday is just a culmination of the kind of political maneuvering that has been going on under the surface to try and see which particular formation will be able to beat Deputy President William Ruto. William Ruto is the man to beat come 2022. It has become very evident from what we saw even at the burial of Kabaka, former Senator Kabaka. It showed just the weight with which William Ruto is respected even within Cumberland. Yeah. And I think such a meeting was a really important one for Kalonzo to galvanize these political leaders a day after that particular burial, just to show the kind of muscle and weight that he still can be able to marshal within that particular region. But part of the thing that also was very disconcerting was to see that the meeting was held under the cover of the BBI. Yeah. But in the end, it turned out to be a whole political process. And of course, from some of the readings and what I've also got from that particular meeting, there was a question of which formations can be able to be formed to try and beat William Ruto. There's a Kalonzo-Mudavadi matrix or Mudavadi-Kalonzo matrix, and others. And Wetangula came into that mix to try and bring in the Western vote. So I think the maneuvering that needs to happen between now and August of next year, we will see a lot of such kind of meetings trying to see how they can form a coalition that can beat William Ruto at this particular stage. A lot of attempts have been made before. They have been unsuccessful. The Msambweni by-election was a case in point in which he decided to back an independent candidate, and that win is reverberating across the country. We are waiting to see the next few by-elections in Matumu and others within the next few weeks. How that will play out in terms of the formations going forward politically. But it is a quagmire for most of them, especially with Mudavadi and Wetangula, because yet they have not been able to show that they can really fully galvanize the Western vote. Even in Cumberland, as you can see from the meeting yesterday, Charity Ngilu had to be there with Kalonzo Musyoka. So, and William, even when you look at the other members, Gideon Moi and Isaac Ruto, we are seeing two parties coming from every particular block. Well, in one case, William Ruto has been fronted as a national candidate. So they would still need to work on who can really galvanize and marshal a national support that can be able to weigh and go against someone like William Ruto.
Indeed, and the papers will for sure be covering those developments as they go along. But let's shift gears back to the Standard's front page, and there seems to be a running theme, the Uhuru Kenyatta legacy. You know, we're told on the front page, key Uhuru projects transforming urban landscape. They're focusing on some of these projects, and on page 12 and 13, they have elaborated on them. We're told mega road projects to transform towns and ease traffic snarl up. We have the Nairobi Expressway being highlighted there, the Dongo Kundu rather bypass, and so many more. We have the Nairobi, the rail that has been work that has ongoing for a long time. They have pictured them quite elaborately there, so you can see for yourself what has been happening as far as infrastructure is concerned. So, in a nutshell, what do you make of the work that is going to be part of the Uhuru Kenyatta legacy?
I think Uhuru Kenyatta in this last term has really proven to be a leader who is very focused in terms of infrastructure. The cost, of course, for Kenyans has been the issue of the debt burden and the fact that we are taking on a lot of debt to be able to cover much of these projects.
Yes.
But it's amazing what has been able to happen. Under the NMS, there's a lot of transformation happening within the city. The commuter rail, the expressway that has been built, a number of very interesting projects that have come up. However, I think this has to also be balanced with how we are also developing in other sectors of the economy so that we can be able to service the amount of debt that we're taking on to be able to carry out these projects. But indeed, for the Jubilee administration, especially for Uhuru Kenyatta in this last term, it has been quite a show of might in terms of having been able to quickly put together projects and be able to execute them in record time. We are seeing the expressway move at a record pace, and it's something to watch. But again, at the cost of the way the debt ceiling is almost being reached, we are not. COVID has had a serious impact on the economy. Mm-hmm. I think the technocrats at Treasury really need to rethink how best we can be able to rework this economy to be able to support some of these mega infrastructure projects that have been initiated, and so that we can be able to support it going along the way, while at the same time making sure that Kenyans are not pinched or pushed to the wall in terms of taxation. With these new amendments that have just come through, already we are back to where we were pre-COVID, and it's something that we need to look at keenly. How do we make sure that the economy moves at a quick pace, yes, so that in as much as we are going back to pre-COVID taxation, we are able to put money in Kenyans' hands to be able to move the economy forward, and so that they don't feel the pinch.
Right, but then the president has actually made comparisons to other even more developed countries that have bigger debt, or well over 100%, and that has been sort of a justification for some of these massive borrowing sprees that we have gone on, because of course we do not have the kind of financial clout to handle the sort of needs of this country, particularly the infrastructural ones. So what do you make of that justification when you look at countries such as Japan? Even the US has debt. Even China has debt. So what do you make of that and the fact that it can be justified in that particular way?
I mean, debt is something that any country should be very free to take on. However, management of that debt is the question. And what are you doing in terms of ensuring you're invigorating the economy to be able to support the amount of debt that you're taking on? And I do know Kenya is still at a place whereby if it still went to much of these financial institutions and even to the markets, capital markets, to look for money, they'll be able to get some money to be able to continue supporting the budget. But the biggest problem has been that in as much as we have now moved to a more development-focused budgeting and also debt borrowing, there's still a huge element of recurrent expenditure, although we've just seen that Kenya has really dropped from about 4.5% in use of recurrent expenditure during this COVID period. But we were still taking debt to be able to support normal government operations. And this is where the problem comes in. So it's very important that the government and the economists at Treasury look at how do you make sure that we are building the sectors of the economy that can be able to generate the kind of money that can be able to support and be able to cater for repayment of these particular debts. Agriculture needs to be given a very serious focus going forward. I mean, we need to really focus on what are we doing in terms of agriculture to be able to support this particular economy of ours. Manufacturing, we need to really encourage these industries to be able to produce in such a manner that we can be able to support the kind of debt that we're taking on over the last few years. So I still believe it's an argument that can be put forward that yes, we are capable to take on more debt, but how we manage that debt in terms of how much even we are, in terms of the receipts that we're receiving from the economic activities being generated, is something that needs to be factored in very keenly. And for me, I still believe there's a lot of work to be done. We are really servicing much of our budget from taxation. We are not increasing the tax bracket as it's supposed to be. We are still going after the few who have already been paying taxes. So these are the things that we need to really look into. How we're collecting our revenues is something that we really need also to focus on going forward. So there are still some tweaks that need to be done in this particular country. And when we clearly look at how to fix these particular bottlenecks, then we can be able to say we can take on more debt and look at how we can be able to move forward as a country.
Okay, thank you very much for your sentiments. Stephen Mwakesi is a public policy analyst, and there's so many other stories that have made headlines. If you want to know about the Winnie Achieng, a woman who drowned in the Indian Ocean after a vehicle plunged into the waters, take a look at both papers, the Daily Nation and the Standard, and learn more about that tragic incident, and also a lot of coverage on what's happening in the health sector. But we take a short break. When we come back, we focus on the tea sector.